Well, hello again. My name is Caitlin Moore. I'm the financial educator for your retirement plan here at Creek Carrier, and I'm through Union Bank and Trust here in Lincoln, Nebraska. And today we are ending our series of Road to Retirement, where we have talked about the ages and stages of retirement planning. And today we're going to be talking about pre-retirement, a couple years out from retirement, and then early retirement years, some savings goals, some things to think about. I want to start by saying I'm not a financial advisor. I'm an educator. I cannot tell you what to do. So if you call me for advice, I can't give it to you, but I can certainly go through your options within the retirement plan here at Crete, or even talk a little bit more about this series and some questions that you may have during your stage of life. So let's get started. Let's talk about the pre-retirement. So when I say pre-retirement, we're talking about 50s, maybe late 50s, early 60s, as we're going into retirement years. Traditionally, we're looking at age 65 for retirement. So if you fall a little bit younger in that, I apologize for the age. I'm just going to say 65 is our average retirement date, and that's in and around what we're talking about here. All right, so we get these questions all the time. Is it time to retire? Now, I can't answer that for you. Everyone is different. We're getting away from this idea that you need $1 million to retire. That's just not the case. Now, some people do. Some people need more. Some people need far less. Typically, what we're hearing now is that about 80% of your lifestyle will be carried over into retirement. So think about 80% of what you make in a year or spend in a year, you'll likely have that in retirement, if not more like 100%. But if we're really just looking at 80%, that's going to look different for everyone. When you retire is completely up to you. One of the things we like to tell folks, even 5-10 years out from retirement, log into SSA.gov, Social Security Administration.gov, make your profile. It does not mean that you're going to start your benefits. It just means that you're making a profile and you're going to be able to see your number, your magic Social Security number based off your age and your birth date. It's a really great way to just see and plan about when you want to start pulling Social Security, when you want to retire, things like that. So get onto SSA.gov, make that profile, get that information, because it's going to be different for everyone based off your salary, how long you've worked, and your age. The other question we get is, am I financially ready to retire? Again, that's a question for you to answer. I like to suggest for folks to see a financial advisor, not me, but an advisor, 10 years out from retirement and then 5 years out, because there is plenty of time within 10 years to make changes to whatever you need to, whether it's more savings, changing your investments, where are you saving, could you save more elsewhere, things like that. So the advisor is able to do that because they're going to do an overhaul of your finances. Same thing 5 years out. Now, you don't have as much time before retirement, but maybe you need to start getting more conservative with your investment options or saving a little bit more in certain areas. So an advisor would be able to tell you that. So financially ready is an answer for you, but there are definitely ways that we're going to be talking about to kind of get more education around that. Age 50, experts would say around 5 times your annual salary should have been saved in retirement. If you're making up for lost times, you do have that ability to put more away in retirement. We'll get to that in a later slide here. Age 60, so coming up on retirement, experts would say 9.4 times your annual salary should be saved in retirement planning. Not everyone could do that, though. It's very rare that I even see that a lot of times, and that's okay. These are just goals. They're just markers that experts are suggesting for some good retirement savings. So if you don't need that much, that's okay. If you need more, then let's get to saving. The biggest thing to consider, especially with the phone calls that I reflect on having within Creek Carrier, is inflation. We have been dealing with that for the last several years with high inflation, which means the dollar, say in 2019, our dollar was worth less than our dollar is now. So when it comes to saving in our retirement plan, by putting a lot of money in our cash accounts or our money market, stable value funds, you're locking up that dollar value to be when you lock it up. So it's kind of a cautionary tale to say putting too much away in these conservative investments may not behoove you in 20 years or so. It could be very scary during these down markets, and a lot of people want to preserve their dollar amount, so they throw it into that stable value fund to just sit as cash. But we're not earning much off that, and it's supposed to earn with inflation. But as we've seen in the last several years, where we're at 6%, 8% inflation, average inflation is 2%. So that dollar value is really, it's not helping It's not going to help you in retirement if we're too conservative with our investments. Now, it doesn't mean you can't, does not mean that you cannot be conservative with your investments. Just consider this, especially 10 years out from retirement, about inflation and how that affects the dollar. So I have this nice little graph here, and for those of you that are just able to listen, I'll try to explain this the best I can. But it's really just showing our dollar value over a period of time. So let's say that person A has $100,000 in their retirement account. Inflation looks about 3% on average over time. If that person only kept that $100,000 in their cash investment, by the time they retire, say in 30 years, over the 30-year period, their 100,000 is really only worth about 40,000 because inflation has made their dollar less money. And if they're not earning any extra money off of their investments, then we're not keeping that dollar value power behind it. So over time, the more money you have in cash, the less that cash is worth. Now, you may have $100,000 still in your account, but it won't buy as much as it would, say, the 20, 30 years ago. So it is something to consider even 10 years out, that having too much in cash isn't really growing your account, and it may not even be preserving the dollar value over time. Now, this is not me giving advice to say don't do cash. It just means to be cautious about how much you're saving in cash over a period of time, and really just understanding how cash does not keep its value over a period of time without it being invested and earning extra money off of that cash. Because what we could buy 20 years ago with $1 is very, very different than what we can buy now. I'll use a candy bar, for example. I'm 37. And I remember even in my 20s, you could go to the store and buy a regular size candy bar for 99 cents. And so after tax, it was usually $1.09. And now I've noticed that candy bars are more like $1.39 before tax. So again, it's that dollar value. What is your dollar worth anymore? Well, it's not even worth a candy bar where it was even 10, 15 years ago. So that's the power of inflation behind that. This graph right here, and I'll try to explain for those who can't see it, is really just looking at your investment options within the CREAT plan and how they grow over time. So we have stocks that are growing, and these are averages between 1985 and 2021, where our stocks went from 0 to about 65,000 over that time. And there's a whole profile of where this money came from and why it grew that much. But in the stock market, it went from little to a lot, where our bonds kind of went from 0 to about 10,000. Our cash equivalent barely grew, so 0 to 5,000, because inflation actually outgrew that cash. So inflation made it higher than that cash. So this is really just to say that, yes, there's plenty of dips in the stock market. Our stock market, though, that's the highest line on this graph here. There was ups and downs. It went up and down during those, let's say, 30 years. But ultimately, the trend was upward, and upward a lot higher than those bonds were over time. And this is just the power of compound interest. And even though the market dips, when we're putting money into our retirement plan on a weekly basis here at CREAT, we're buying stock at whatever price it is that day. So there's kind of an advantage to be doing this every week, because it may be up one week, maybe down the next, and we're kind of averaging out those prices over time. So over the 30-year period on this graph, the stocks made the most money, even though there were some steep ups and downs. All right, so options to consider when retiring. I've actually gotten quite a few phone calls about this lately here at CREAT about what can I do with my account once I retire, once I'm no longer here at CREAT contributing to my account. And there's a lot of things you can do. One of them is roll the retirement account into a traditional IRA. So an IRA is outside of your employer plan being this CREAT 401k. An IRA is something you'd set up at your bank. You can roll those dollars right in there, as it is a retirement account. So it's not hitting your bank account. It's just going straight into that IRA. And you could have it invested that way. So maybe you have somebody managing those investments on the bank side. Maybe you don't. Maybe you're doing that. One of the things to consider, though, is your fees involved with that IRA. You don't have to move it out of the CREAT plan. As long as your balance is above $5,000, you can keep it in the CREAT plan. And oftentimes, when you keep it within an employer account, you have far less fees than an IRA would have. But if you've already got that IRA set up and you're contributing to it or have had it for a while, you just want to roll this account right into that IRA, you are welcome to do that. But like I said, you can leave the money in the employer plan. Not a problem here at Crete. That means that it would stay within the Union Bank and Trust account under the Crete title. The money is all yours. You are still in control of the investments, which you can change at any time. It just means that money can't go into the account anymore. You could certainly withdraw, but you can't put money into the account. Now, you can set up a payment plan with us if you want to take money out every month to supplement your income, or maybe you just want to call and say, hey, I need some money. You could do that at any time when you're in retirement or over the age of 59 and a half. It's completely up to you. You don't even have to touch it, honestly. As long as the balance is over $5,000, you can just let it sit for as long as you would like that to be until at least 73 years old. You could also withdraw the balance. You could take the whole thing out. If you just want to take that out in cash, you're welcome to do so. Just know that it becomes taxable income because it is an income. If you have any Roth dollars, those will be tax-free, including the interest that you have made off those investments as long as the account has been open for 5 years. But I know for Crete's account, the profit sharing and the match are all pre-tax. So I will tell everyone that they do have pre-tax dollars in there. So if you were to cash out, you will at least have to pay taxes on the Crete side of things. Your contributions, if you have the pre-tax and Roth, you'll have to pay taxes on the pre-tax side. So it could be a lot of money if you're just going to cash it out, but you could also just take distributions as you would like to do. So a lot of things to consider. I get a lot of these phone calls. Feel free to call and ask. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you have about taking money out. A lot of people consolidate. Like I said, you can roll this money out into an IRA. If you're still employed here, you can actually move money into your account here. So if you have another employer plan or an IRA, traditional IRA, so pre-tax, that can all come into the plan here. So a lot of people do that right before they retire. They consolidate all of their dollars into the same account. But just know that once you retire and you're no longer employed by Crete, you can't move money in. So you got to make that plan prior to you retiring. In your 50s and 60s, you do have the option to do catch-up contributions. So if you got a late start to your retirement savings, just know that the IRS does make it an option for you to put a little bit more into your account. So if you are under the age of 50, you can put in $22,500 this year, 2023. If you're over the age of 50, you can put in another $7,500 for a total of $30,000. So a lot of people, when they get over this expensive time of life, so later in their career, coming up on retirement, they're really putting some money away in the account. So you can hit the max of $30,000 if you choose to in your company account here at Crete. We look at 65 as that magic age for retirement. Some people retire earlier. There are options for you. It does not mean you can't access your dollars. If you're over the age of 59 and a half, you certainly have the power to reach your dollars, whether you're employed or not. And then there are some IRS rules if you retire in your 50s and this money being available to you. So give us a call if you do plan on retiring early. Social Security, consider that. Make that plan or your profile on ssa.gov. And we're going to get to that in just a second here about some things to consider when it comes to Social Security, which that website will give you far more information than I'm going to give you. Another thing is to look at your investment mix. The closer you get to retirement, the more conservative experts would suggest you become within your account. Does not mean that you shouldn't have money in the stock market, but maybe a little bit less than you have over time. Whoops. So some key dates to remember on your path to retirement: age 49 and under. You can only put in that $22,500 for the year 2023. You can also put in an extra $6,500 in a Roth or traditional IRA. So it is a way to put some more money aside if you're filling up that company 22.5. Over the age of 50, you can put in that extra $7,500 plus the $6,500 in an IRA plus a catch-up contribution of $1,000. So really, you've got a lot of wiggle room after the age of 50 to kind of catch up on your retirement savings if you wanted to. If you're 55 or older and you leave your job to retire early, you do have an advantage of penalty-free withdrawals. So if you are considering retiring, 55 is really that key number to avoid those penalties. But if you're retiring earlier than 55 and you're not going to use these dollars until you're over the age of 59 and a half, then you won't have to worry about penalties either. So feel free to call us again, 10 years, 5 years out. Give us a call because there's some changes that can be made to your account and just the education behind it so that you can make an educated decision on when you want to retire. At age 59 and a half, you can withdraw from your 401k without the 10% penalty. And this goes for anyone. You don't have to be retired to do that. As long as you are over the age of 59 and a half, you will have to pay taxes on your pre-tax dollars, but you will avoid that 10% penalty. And at age 62, you are eligible for Social Security benefits. Now, this changes. So like I said, if you're approaching the age of where you're considering Social Security, you do need to make that profile because it will give you a much better indication of how much you can withdraw. Age 65, you can enroll in Medicare. I am not a Medicare expert. If you live in the state of Nebraska, Nebraska SHIP is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to Medicare and due dates to get involved and penalties if you don't, things like that. So age 65 is that year for you. Ages 66 to age 67 is that 100% Social Security benefit payout. We're going to get to a slide here where it's going to tell us a little bit more about that. If you were to wait longer than that 66, 67 age, age 70, you have to file for Social Security if you haven't. So you do have a couple years there to start withdrawing it, but just know age 70 is a key number. And then age 73 is that is when our current RMDs are due. So if you're at age 73, that means you have to start taking money out of your 401k, your retirement plans. It's around 4% a year. But if you have not taken money out of your retirement plan prior to 73, the IRS requires it, required minimum distribution. And we can help figure out how much you need to withdraw to stay within any penalty amounts. All right, this is just a quick little graph of talking about withdrawing a certain amount. So there's this rule of 4 that experts look at when you're in retirement. If you can stay within 4% withdrawal or distribution rates, that hopefully it will last 25 to 30 years. So at the bottom of this graph, we have market allocations. How would you be investing your money? 100% bonds, 75% bonds, 25% in stock markets, 50-50, 25% bonds, 75% stocks, or 100% stocks. So it goes from very, very conservative to very, very aggressive. Now, in retirement, the goal is that we're still making money off of our money. It's still invested. But a lot of people want to know, should it be pretty aggressive to try to earn extra money? Should it be very conservative? So I'm just kind of balancing out my whole entire balance. And there's a mix here. So this graph were to be saying, if you did different types of allocations from conservative to aggressive, how long would your money last? And really what the goal of this chart is to say is if you are withdrawing more than 5% a year out of your account, it is your the likelihood of it lasting more than 25 years gets lower and lower. So if you could stay 4 to 5% withdrawal rate a year, and it being a little bit in the market, not overly aggressive, but your money is still invested in the market, even 25 to 50%. The likelihood of your money lasting 25 to 30 years is upwards of 70 to 90%, if not higher. So again, that rule of 4 just keeps money in your account. It keeps it earning kind of, you're taking out 4%. We're hopefully earning that back over time. And then this chart here is really to talk about Social Security benefits. What it is saying you have a 100% year that you could be withdrawing 100% of your benefits, and that's 66 to 67. Now, if you wait another year, up to 4 years after that, you would be earning an extra 8% a year. So you could be taking out up to 132% of your benefits if you're willing to wait. Now, the same goes for the other end. If you need to start withdrawing prior to your 100% or age 66 or 67, it would go 8% backwards. So you can start withdrawing, I believe, at age 62, but you would be receiving less than at 100% benefit. And this is why I always suggest for people to get on SSA.gov and put in their target date for retirement. And if they can't afford to do that with the benefits they're receiving, then maybe you have to hold off, maybe work a little bit longer, or just not file for Social Security right away, which you do not have to do just because you're retired. So SSA.gov, that's even where this chart comes from. It gives you a lot more information on the timing of your Social Security benefits and when you want to take them. So we're coming to the end here. Just want to talk about some key issues, our retirement checklist here as we're approaching retirement. If you're married, discuss retirement plans with your spouse. Keep that conversation going. Even get your financial advisor involved in that. Be realistic about a retirement budget. Again, at the beginning, I said about 80% of your lifestyle will carry over. So let's be realistic. If it's more than 80%, we need to account for that. Determine what additional health or long-term care insurance you'll need. Again, that's not my forte, but insurance is a huge piece of the puzzle when it comes to retirement, and it may cost a little bit more than what you're paying now. So look into that. Compare your projected income with projected expenses. Again, how much do you want to be taken out in retirement from your 401k or other retirement assets versus your expenses? Start paying off or reducing any debts that you may have. Don't carry those into retirement. It's just going to eat into your budget. Make catch-up contributions when you can. That's that extra $7,500 within your 401k or the extra $1,000 for your IRA if you're maxing out those two. And review your preparations once a year, especially if you have an advisor. Sit down with them. The closer you get to retirement, the more communication you might need with them. As far as your account goes, you do get quarterly statements. They might be online at ubt.com/RPS. You can always reach out to me to have access to your account if you haven't already. We do have some really great calculators. One of them is a retirement calculator. Even if you're 20 years old, you could use this and kind of project forward how much you would have in retirement. Then we've got another one that is called How Long Will It Last? To take that big number, that projected number, and see how many years you can make that last according to how much you want to withdraw within that. So those are both on our website at ubt.com. If you have questions, reach out to me as I am your educator here at Creek Carrier. My number is 402-323-1374. You can email me at caitlin.moore@ubt.com. If you are a driver and we need to work out a schedule of when to talk, just leave it on the voicemail, leave it in the email, and I will try to get back to you during that window of opportunity that you tell me that you might have. I know it can be difficult to make phone calls or log in, so just tell me when you're available, and we'll put it on the schedule. You can also reach our UBT Retirement Plan Service team. They're here in Lincoln, Nebraska, and that number is 402-323-1592, and they can be reached 8 to 5 p.m. If you are calling after hours, just leave a voicemail. They'll send that off to me, and I will get back to you. As always, we have our UBT Retirement app. If you're just looking to get your account balance or look at your investments for the day, you can log into that once you establish your username and password online. But otherwise, that is the end of our series here. If you have more questions or are approaching retirement, feel free to call. I'm more than happy to go over this with greater details. If you have specific questions, feel free to ask. That's why I'm here, and I am the CREET educator, so you'll always get a hold of me on this end. So thanks for joining me today and for the entire series for Road to Retirement.